Hello, Greater Boston Association of Realtors. How are y'all doing today? We are just running a few minutes behind. We apologize, but we have a fantastic program. I'm really excited to have our speakers introduce pandemic unemployment assistance and what the DUA is doing for us. But before we jump in to that, I do want to remind everyone of a few ground rules and introduce our sponsor who we need to keep bringing you these programming. First of all, if you're going to be submitting questions, please make sure you use the question feature and not the chat feature. The question feature will allow me to ask those questions on your behalf. Also, remember the session is being recorded and a link to the recording will be sent via email, usually by tomorrow. And you can find all the previous GBAR Live webinar recordings on the GBAR.org website under Education and Events. Select webinars from that drop-down menu. So first, a big thank you to US Bank and Rosemary O'Neill. She is the area manager for Massachusetts and Rhode Island, and she is sponsoring us today. Thank you so much. She has held numerous sales and operational roles over a distinguished 30-year career in mortgage lending. She is the current director with the Massachusetts Mortgage Bankers Association, and US Bank is a platinum sponsor with GBAR for 2020. Thank you very much for sponsoring us, Rosemary. You there? We got to bring her back. Rosemary, you might be on mute. All right, well, having a little technical difficulties there. So what we can do is we can bring her back at the top of the hour just to say a few things while we work on straightening those technical issues out. So jumping into our featured speakers, I know I was really excited, and when John announced that he was able to secure our two guests for today, they are in high demand, as you can imagine. Attorney Martha Wishart, Chief Counsel, Massachusetts Department of Unemployment Assistance, and Jennifer Lavin, Program Manager in charge of operations for the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program at the State Department of Unemployment Assistance. They're going to be giving us an overview of the PUA program, including provisions and eligibility criteria for the PUA program, as well as unemployment insurance benefits. Specifically, they'll discuss the PUA application process, offer guidance on how to best complete the forms and review documentation required for submission. You'll also learn about the appeals process if you're denied benefits and get insights on how commission earnings from past transactions can affect unemployment status. Thank you very much for joining us, Jennifer and Martha.
Hi, good afternoon.
Thank you for having us.
We're excited to have you.
Okay. All right.
The floor is yours.
Okay, I think we'll start with the application process itself. Can you see that?
We can see that.
Okay. All right. This is a screen. This is the actual application itself. If you go to the Massachusetts Department of Unemployment Assistance website on mass.gov, you'll see the application. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. It doesn't ask, it's not very long. It doesn't ask for a ton of information. But this is the opening screen. Information that you're going to need when you apply for PUA benefits. You'll need your social security number, your date of birth, a driver's license or a state ID, and if you're not a U.S. citizen, your USCIS issued identification number,
Jennifer,
home address.
Just real quick, if I can interrupt you, I think we might on the PowerPoint presentation need to move to the next slide.
It didn't move?
It didn't look like it on our presentation.
Okay. Ooh,
We're still on your opening slide.
yeah, how come? It's paused, okay.
That's it.
All right,
We see it. Thank you.
okay. Let me go back. Okay, so that's the opening screen. Can you see the second screen yet?
Yep, perfect. You're right on
Okay.
it now.
Sorry about that. Again, to apply, you will need your social security number, a date of birth, driver's license or state ID with you. If you're not a U.S. citizen, your USCIS identification number, your home address, your mailing address, if that's different from your home address, cell phone number or phone number for phone calls and possible text messages. The other thing that they ask you for is direct deposit information. You should have that information with you, the bank account number as well as the routing number. The application, like I said before, is pretty quick, only about 10 screens, but you cannot save the application once you've started it. You have to complete it. So if you don't have all that information with you and it takes you more than 10 or 15 minutes to find what it is that they're asking for, it could close out on you. I believe it'll stay open for about 30 minutes before it shuts down and you have to begin again. Okay. Did you get to the next screen?
Yes, Jennifer.
Okay.
You're on it now. Yep.
All right. All right. So then we have a couple of pages of legal acknowledgements. We need you to read through the information and then click that you agree, that we're looking for, what the information that we're looking for. Your social security number is required in order for us to process the information. Also, that any information that you provide to us will be as accurate as it can be, as well as an acknowledgement about possible penalties if it turns out that the information is not accurate. In order to receive the pandemic unemployment assistance benefits, you have to have been affected by COVID-19. Your employment has to have been impacted by COVID-19. So one of the reasons, or the list of reasons that have been determined to be approvable from the Massachusetts, or I'm sorry, from the U.S. Department of Labor under the CARES Act, we have listed them here in the application. If you are not able to go to work for a COVID-19 reason, then you may not be eligible for PUA benefits. It's for people whose employment has been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. So we'll ask you to certify that you have been impacted by COVID-19 for one of the reasons, and then move on. We then ask you a series of questions to determine your benefit eligibility. Did you work in Massachusetts when you were impacted by COVID-19? Did you work for Massachusetts, for a military employer or participate in the Peace Corps? This is a big one. During the last 12 months, did you earn a total of more than $5,100 of employment income from an employer who took taxes out of your paycheck? We're trying to see if you worked in what we call covered employment. Did you work for an employer that took taxes out of your paycheck, paid you with a W-2? If that is true and you made more than $5,100 in the year prior to you filing your claim, then you are probably a candidate for regular unemployment and not for PUA, Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. Pandemic Unemployment Assistance is the payment that is for people who are not eligible for regular unemployment. We're looking to see if you're receiving some kind of pay from your employer or union while you're not working. People who are working or getting paid full-time are not eligible for PUA benefits. So somebody who works a full-time job with a covered employer and has a 1099 side job, they would not be eligible for PUA benefits because you're not considered unemployed if you are working or getting paid full-time. We ask if you're able to work from home, and if so, have you made a voluntary decision not to work from home? Did you work in another state besides Massachusetts? Or did you file another regular unemployment insurance claim in Massachusetts in the last 52 weeks? It could be that you're still eligible for those regular benefits, so this is why we're asking that question. Then we have a page for voluntary disclosures. This information is, responding to this information is not mandatory, just for some reporting purposes. This is where we look for your income in the calendar year 2019. Enter all the employment income from your employers, independent sources, and self-employment. We're looking for a total amount that you earned in that year 2019. Just put that on the line there and certify that that amount is correct to the best of your ability. We do also pay dependency allowance for people claiming pandemic unemployment assistance. We pay $25 per dependent child per week. So we're just asking you how many dependent children you have. Again, it's dependent children and not an adult dependent that is not a child. We also need to make sure that you are available for work. So other than the reason for the COVID-19 reason that prevents you from working now, are you still able to accept work and go to work if that reason was not currently available? Then we ask if you had any earnings in the weeks prior to you filing the claim, because when the PUA application is filed, it can go back to weeks, I believe in March, when the program was first available in the state of Massachusetts. Oops. That's not, all right. Then we'll ask for your identifying information on the next screen, your name, excuse me, social security number, date of birth, if you're a citizen, in Massachusetts driver's license or state ID. We do access the Registry of Motor Vehicles database to verify who people are. This is one of the ways that we do that, and so we will ask for that. Your home address, and then whether or not your mailing address is different than the home address. Payment information, we're looking to see how it is that you would like to get paid. Do you want to have your payments through direct deposit, or do you need a debit card? We strongly encourage the direct deposit. It's just quicker, a little bit easier. So people are required to put in their routing number and their bank number, and then confirm that before they move ahead. You then create an account so that you can go online and access it yourself after the claim is actually filed. We require an email in order to file the PUA claim. Phone number, you create a password, and then password recovery. These are just other forms of security for the claim. Then you review all of the information that you have put into the application. If you would like to change anything, then you can go back before you actually submit the claim. Once you hit submit, the claim is filed. So then you need to remember to certify weekly if you continue to be unemployed or partially employed due to COVID-19. Report your weekly income or earnings if you have any, and to make sure that you monitor your email for communications from DUA, and to open up any mail or email that you receive from us. We generally do not call or text you or ask you for personal information unless you have asked us to give you a contact. So that's not something that we do. We know that there have been a lot of instances where people get information on the internet about filing claims. That generally is not going to come from us. Okay. This is the first one. Yeah. Okay. Once you have filed the claim, in order for you to get paid, you have to claim benefits every single week. This is a week-by-week program, so you get paid on a weekly basis. So once you file your claim and you have set up your account, you can go in and access your claim. You once the week has ended, then you are able to claim benefits for the week that just passed. This is the screen that you'll see when you access your PUA claim. Tells you what your current benefits are, what your benefit rate is, the summary page, the action center. If there was something that you needed to respond to or look at, that would be there. Under the More tab, you can change different things on your claim. Okay. Oops. Okay, so the instructions, you'll be asked a series of questions about possible earnings, your availability for work, and how your availability for work has been impacted by COVID-19. One of the questions that we asked you is, did you work or telework between Sunday, the week that's in question? This includes both full-time and part-time employment. One of the things that we've seen since this program began is that people seem to believe that we are asking different questions of whether they're working a full-time job as well as a part-time job. We mean in general. Are you working in general? If you are working both full-time and a part-time job, that's what we mean when we ask this question. Did you receive any other income for the week that you're claiming, including holiday pay, sick pay, or vacation pay from another employer? Okay. So in this screen, I set it up so that the person didn't have any income, didn't work or telework for that one particular week. Did you receive any other income? No. Then I went back and I set it up so that somebody who did have earnings, they could, you would see what that would look like. So if you were asked if you did have earnings, if you clicked yes, system would then ask you if you worked full-time or part-time. And then it would ask you what your gross earnings were before taxes for that week. If you are somebody who did have part-time earnings, but you did not have any earnings for that period of time, you didn't get paid for your earnings. You may have been performing services but did not get paid. You could check this box here. Then again, we ask if you have received any other income for that week. This is just another model. Okay, again, we ask you to certify about COVID-19, excuse me, and how it has impacted you and your availability, and your ability to continue to work. Again, you have to have been impacted by COVID-19 in order to continue to receive PUA benefits. Okay, and then we're going to ask you about your ability and your availability. One of the basic tenets of unemployment insurance is that you have to be able and available for work in order to receive benefits. So other than that COVID-19 reason, we are asking if you're still able to perform some kind of work. Then the last screen, we just need you to acknowledge, go through some of the acknowledgements, remind you about fraudulent collection of unemployment benefits, and then ask you to click the I agree box before you submit your certification for that week. And there we are.
Are you ready for some questions?
I am, yeah.
Great, because we do have a few.
Okay.
I know one question that came up a few times from a few different people, and if we could go to your slide specific, and this may be a real estate specific question, I'm not sure. But when you talk about working full time or the ability to work full time, our industry somewhat uniquely has had a lot of local limitations put on it about what activities we can actually do. Giving an example of Brookline, you can't even ask to show an occupied property that's not owner occupied for rent or for sale. So just that kind of an extreme. So obviously our businesses have been affected and our ability to work has been affected. The question that often comes up is when you're asked to put down for full-time work, many of our agents are working full-time hours, yet they're not able to make any income because they're restricted as to the activities they can do. What kind of response would you have, and how would they represent themselves?
So we addressed in the next PowerPoint with some questions. We addressed that, but I can address that a little bit, okay? And this is an issue that's unique to pretty unique to realtors, I think. So first of all, the PUA program is new. It's based on disaster unemployment, but it's essentially a new program. So a lot of things that are new to you are in a way new to us as well. But if you're working, you're not eligible. If you're working full time, you're not eligible for unemployment. You're not considered attached to the labor market. And that happens to a lot of people who are working for themselves. We have it happen in the traditional UI context when someone who's unemployed decides they want to start their own business. You may spend quite a long time working when you start your own business and not getting paid. We consider you to still be working because you're performing services that you essentially, that you eventually expect to be compensated for. And we also understand that that's not always the case. In your industry, you may be doing work that you never get paid for if the sale doesn't go through, right? But if you are doing the activities that you would normally do, then we would consider you to be working. I mean, how many hours you're doing that really is a matter of your own schedule. But if you're working, and I know a lot of realtors don't work 9 to 5, you get phone calls all night, right? But if you're working what you consider a full-time schedule, you should report that you're working. And then when you get a commission, and we also would address that in one of the slides in a different PowerPoint, the commission should be reported in the week that you earn it, or that that you receive it. And that's a little bit of a departure too. So for example, if you're a regular UI claimant, right, and you get paid every 2 weeks, like you get paid $1,000 every 2 weeks, we expect you to report $500 and $500 in the 2 weeks, not 0 and 1,000. But since you really aren't assured of getting that commission until the deal closes, the right to receive the money only really ripens at the closing table, right? So report it in that week. That's the only really sensible way to do it. The other thing you can do is just not claim benefits that week, because chances are, I'm sure you're gonna make too much money that week to get any benefits, basically. So those are how you handle those two situations.
Fair enough. I know there are a lot of questions that kind of come from some topics it sounds like you're going to be covering in the next few slides, the next presentation. So what I'd suggest is we listen to that first, and then we can work through those questions and see what gets answered already before, so we have a chance to let you speak first. But I did want to just take a moment to introduce our sponsor again. Sorry.
Here, I think. Can you hear me? Okay.
Thank you. So Rosemary O'Neill from US Bank, she is the area manager for Massachusetts and Rhode Island, and US Bank is a platinum sponsor for 2020 for Greater Boston Association of Realtors. Thank you for your sponsorship, Rosemary.
Thank you so much, Jason, and thanks for having me here today. We're just very happy at US Bank to be a platinum sponsor. It's looking a little different than it has in past years because of COVID, but we're moving with it and have to make some changes. We've made a lot of changes in our industry in order to keep up with the COVID challenges. But US Bank has really done a great job in getting ready and keeping the pipelines moving and closing and originating new loans, which has been great. All of our teams are now working from home, and we have added tools to help borrowers and attorneys keep the credit flowing in this time of the COVID challenges. US Bank offers a online application for the borrowers. Borrowers so they don't have to meet anybody in person. They can go online, complete an application. They can upload documents, or our system can speaks to some third-party vendors and can import their bank statements and their income docs, so they don't have a scanner at home. They're able to be able to accomplish that. In addition to that, all of the documents are delivered to them electronically. So their upfront disclosures, their commitment letter, their appraisal, their closing disclosure, everything's done electronically. So, to keep, again, keep things moving, because people are leery of, meeting somebody or going into an office to apply for a loan. So we'll be operating like this, I would imagine, for quite a while now. In addition to that, this year, when the governor signed the emergency mandate to allow us to do e-closings, we added e-closings. So we are participating in that as the state allows us to do it. It's a two-part process, but we are able to do the e-closings. And just be assured that we're prioritizing the purchase transactions. This is a big refi market. A lot of lenders are really backlogged with refinances because rates are so low, but we are running, prioritizing our purchases. We're running 2 to 3 days for a full underwrite, and we're still able to close a purchase loan in 30 to 45 days. So we'll be able to, that's happening and has been happening throughout this crisis. We have a team of 30 local loan offices that are available to assist the members. Our official offices are located in Braintree, downtown Boston, Burlington, Danvers, and Framingham. So we've got loan offices in each, and assistance in each one of those spaces. And US Bank is primarily known for their portfolio jumbo lending. So that's where we really stand out. We are still doing 90% financing on jumbo loans up to $900,000. I know a couple of realtors reached out to me this week and couldn't find somebody that would do a 90% financing, but we are still doing those. And we do loans up to $10 million. So we can, we're kind of in that super jumbo space as well. In addition to that, we also offer Fannie and Freddie Mac and all the government loans. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to take them now, or you can just email me at rosemary.o'neill@US Bank, and I'll be happy to either connect you with a loan officer, answer your questions. Everything's changing so much that use me and our team as a resource to kind of bring you up to speed with what's happening and what you can expect. And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for your support. And we can add your contact information into the chat so people can get that information during this webinar. So Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Take care.
Thank you. So Jennifer, I believe, were you finished with your presentation? I'm sorry if I interrupted you, but I thought you were moving. So awesome. So Martha, thank you for taking over and letting us know a little bit more about the legal side, I guess, of the issue of PUA.
Sure. Oops, let me see if I can get my PowerPoint here. This is, All right. Let's see. Do the slideshow. Okay, and it looks like I went to, oh God. All right, I'm gonna try to do this again. All right. Let's go up to the beginning. Okay, here's the most important slide from my perspective. And let me see if I can make this so I'm just sharing my screen. Oh, nerds.
We do see it.
Okay, all right. So we can't give you legal advice, right? We represent the state. We're just here trying to give you information. So that's the disclaimer. All right, so do you see the second slide now, what programs applicable?
We
Yep.
do.
Okay, awesome. So as a general rule, and I think probably all of you know this, services performed by a real estate broker or salesperson are generally not included in the definition of employment for purposes of the Massachusetts unemployment statute, right? So PUA is a program for people who are not eligible for traditional unemployment. So that covers you. Or I'm sure that some of you do real estate and you also do some other second job on the side. If that job is also self-employment and you've been affected by COVID-19, you would still be in the PUA space. Or if you had a second job as a W-2 employee, but you had earnings of less than $5,100 in the last calendar year. So PUA gives you $267 as a minimum benefit if you're eligible for it. And then right now, as you probably know, there's the $600 on top of it that is also available. So right now, the minimum that an individual who's available for PUA would be receiving on a weekly basis is $867. You can increase that amount by we verify your income. So if your income's verified and we use interfaces with DOR and whatnot, you may become eligible for a higher rate. Now, if you apply for unemployment, if you're eligible for unemployment, you have to use that first. So if you change jobs and you were previously a W-2 employee prior to becoming a realtor, or you have a second job in which you're a W-2 employee and you made more than $5,100 in the past calendar year, you have to apply for regular unemployment, even if your rate's going to be less. So there's still the $600 applicable to regular UI right now. So even if you have a really low rate, the benefits are increased by that $600, which again at the moment is scheduled to end at the end of July. You can't choose. The statute says you have to exhaust your right to regular UI first. So we talked a little bit about reporting commissions. Report it when it's received if you're going to report it, or you could simply just not certify for benefits that week because your commission almost in every case I would think is going to render you ineligible. So the way that we calculate that is you can earn up to a certain amount of your benefit rate. It's a third, and then after that we do a dollar for dollar deduction until you have basically made the amount of your benefit rate, and then you get zero. So if somebody's getting a commission check for $10,000, or just to pick a number, obviously they're not going to be eligible for PUA benefits that week. And then we talked a little bit about, but it's a good idea to discuss it again because I know it's a big issue, what constitutes working. So again, if you are doing your customary tasks that you would be doing every day in your normal endeavors, that's considering working. Now there is in the federal guidance an exception for preparing to return to work. And again, this, this particular program is based on one that is typically used for disasters like hurricanes, right? And things like that. So this preparing to work contemplates in the normal course, cleaning your office up and sort of getting back into a position to be able to work. So it doesn't cover things like getting listings, things that you would generally do in your normal work life. And then I didn't do slides for this, but you wanted to discuss the appeal paradigm, how we do that. So if you get denied benefits, either on the regular unemployment side or on the PUA side, you have a right to appeal. And then you have a right to a hearing. Obviously, right now we are extremely backed up in terms of that. We're basically right now trying to get people paid, and the appeals are relatively slow, to be honest. But you would have a right to a hearing before a review examiner, and then you would get a written decision. The issues that you can get denied for on PUA are relatively limited because most of the program is based on self-certifying. So you can get denied if we don't think you are who you say you are. And if you've been looking at the news, you know that we've had some issues with that. And one of the things I wanted to mention that I was reminded of when Jen was speaking is, while it's true that we won't ever text or call you asking for personal information, there may be a text. If you've gotten PUA, you may get a text asking you to confirm whether you have filed a claim. That is a legitimate text from us, and all it's going to ask you to do is answer yes or no. But other than that, just like you hear about the IRS or other government agencies, you're not going to get a call from us out of the blue asking what your social security number is or any of your personal information. So if you get that kind of contact, please be wary of it. And if you or anybody else that you know has received information that a PUA claim has been filed in your name, we do have resources on our website for you to report that, so we can look into it appropriately. So I think I'm ready for questions now. If
they're coming.
Yeah.
These are probably the most questions I've seen in one of our live webinars yet. So thank you for leaving us some time to go through some of these. I am trying to filter out the ones that I think have already been answered by your presentation. Thank you for that. But why don't I start with Melody Sky Roloff. How do you edit once you submit a filing? Is there a way to edit a filing?
Are you talking about the actual application itself or the weekly certification?
I believe we're talking about the weekly certification.
The weekly certification, in most cases, it can't be modified, which is similar to the regular unemployment insurance program. If you have indicated that you are not, that you worked full time and then you are determined to be ineligible, you can understand why we probably wouldn't let people go back and change that after it's been submitted. But if you have made a genuine mistake, you can contact our contact center and speak to one of our agents, and we can take a look and see if it's possible to change some of the information that you put there.
Great, thank you. And this question's come up in a few different forms. I believe you've answered it, but there may be a nuance here I'm missing. There are a few people are asking, they get a very small amount of W-2 income, maybe it's 10% of their income, and the majority of their income is 1099. What if their W-2 income is not affected, but obviously, I think the hard thing for us to hear is we've been told don't show properties, and obviously the market's been extremely limited by COVID, the amount of people looking. the ability to show the properties, the ability to even close a transaction based, probate court is closed, we can't get discharges on probate issues, things of that nature. So there's a clear impact. I'm just hearing a lot of people asking about 1099 income being affected, but still having their W-2. Is there any level of PUA that they would qualify for, or does that just not get negated by the W-2 income, regardless of the level it's at?
It generally gets negated by the W-2 income. The reason that we said if you made $5,100 or more in the W-2 income is because that is the threshold for a regular unemployment insurance claim in Massachusetts. So if you've earned $5,100 or more in the year prior to you filing your claim, then you are probably eligible for some sort of regular unemployment benefit. And the way this program was written, the CARES Act, was that if you were eligible for any type of regular unemployment insurance benefits, then that is where you would get your benefits and not the PUA. The PUA benefits are for people who would get nothing for regular UI. The ones who just never, they always fell through the cracks because they didn't have any of the covered employment.
Understood. And for PUA, for people who applied for PUA were rejected because they had a W-2, they were rejected for unemployment assistance. And they didn't give a specific reason. This came up a couple times as well. Is it possible for them to reapply for PUA since they were rejected for unemployment assistance, regular unemployment assistance?
Yes, they should be able to do that. So we have made some changes to the PUA system since the early days also. So people who were rejected generally may want to try again, but people who've applied for unemployment and who have gotten a denial should reapply for PUA.
Awesome. And the question of taxability comes up, and also the ability to withhold taxes. Is it possible for you to withhold taxes? And second question, is this taxable? I think we know the answer.
It is taxable income. Unfortunately, we don't have the ability to withhold taxes in the program right now. I don't know if it's going to come. This is supposed to be a short-term program. It's only supposed to last until December 31st. And we had to put it up really quickly. So some of the things that we would have liked to have had, like tax withholding, that would have been very nice. We just weren't able to accomplish. So people should be aware of that it's taxable income. We're not withholding any money. So you will get a 1099 at the end of the year.
Awesome. And as far as other sources of income, such as passive investments, is that considered in the weekly filings? An example maybe being a rental property that's managed by another property or person or something of that nature.
No, you really have to, it has to be earnings, the really passive income. And it's interesting because you probably know way more than I do about this, but there's been I've heard an interesting issue raised by Airbnb, and that there are people who actually, for them, it's more than a passive source of income. They're really sort of managing these little empires of, essentially hotel rooms. But if it's just, you have some rental property, somebody manages it, and you're just, putting the checks in the bank, no, that's not considered working.
Okay. Driver's license, there's a couple of questions that came up on the driver's license side. If your driver's license is expired, or if it's out of state but you reside full-time in Massachusetts, is there any issue with that? How should you move forward?
I think that we know the registry's closed, so we know that people whose licenses expired after the beginning of March probably still have expired licenses. So we've accounted for that. If somebody's license expired 6 months ago, they may have to send us some additional documentation, and it may be the same with an out-of-state license. I'm not sure. Jen, do you know if it's an out-of-state?
I believe for the out-of-state, I think we're only looking for a Massachusetts ID. So for the out-of-state people, if they don't have a Massachusetts ID, they might be asked to submit additional identification.
Okay. Is alimony considered as earnings?
No, it's not.
All
Although you
right.
may perform service. No, I'm not gonna go there.
So we did have a couple of questions on taxes. If you haven't filed your 2019 taxes, obviously the deadline's been extended till July. Are you able to file using your 2018 taxes?
So we don't use the 2018 taxes for the relevance of the 2019 income is to figure out what your benefit rate is. So as I said earlier, the minimum amount that you can get is $267. That's, you know, regardless of what you earn, that's the minimum that you're going to get. If you are entitled to more than that, and which, you know, anybody who makes, what is Jen, we figured out how much it would be. If you make over like $30,000, right, you'd probably be entitled to more. But it's the 2019 tax year that's used to make that determination. So we would look at what you told us. We have a couple of sources we ping it against to see if it's, you know, if it's verifiable. If it's verified, then you'll just get automatically the higher rate. If it's not, we, you know, we'll probably ask you for some more documentation. So if somebody hasn't filed 2019 taxes, we may be looking for 1099s from, you know, the documents that you would use to base your 2019 tax filing off of.
Awesome.
But that's really for increasing the rate, right? So and I expect that probably people are going to be looking for that more once the $600 falls off at the end of July, if it does. So if you think you're entitled to a higher rate and you want to do that, I would advise you to do it before the end of July, because I think there's going to be a rush to the door. You know, everybody's going to all of a sudden be getting, instead of getting almost $900 checks, they're going to be getting $300 checks, and all want to have their rate adjusted up. So don't wait too long to do that.
A couple more questions on what's qualified, what's considered earnings. Social Security.
No.
Not considered. And that question came in 4 or 5 times. So there's a lot of people there saying thank you.
That's a triple play.
Yeah. There are a few questions about best ways to communicate with DUA regarding PUA.
Well, the PUA program has its own contact center. We have our own contact center. We have an outside vendor that works that contact center. There are 450 agents available. We have an online chat function available. We have an artificial intelligence little robot guy that you could type your question into, and he might be able to help you. We are a separate system from the regular unemployment system. So you call the main number for regular unemployment, and then you hit option number 2 off of that that main tree, and that brings you to the PUA service center.
Awesome. Then it seems still a lot of concern. I think the answer was clear, but there's still a lot of concern about questions being asked in different ways, but essentially the same question. If you're, and this is regarding the ability to work, right? And what's considered, as your slide is still sitting on the screen, what constitutes working in qualified work, even if you're not making any money. So to be really clear, even if you're doing any of these for the context of real estate, pursuing listings, showing houses, or other normal day-to-day tasks, even where the ability to actually close a transaction has been negatively affected, that is still considered work and would be considered a reason not to be qualified for PUA that week. Is that accurate?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. So, and I know that's tough for, I think, for a lot of the agents to hear, because it puts us in a tough place. But I understand the rationale there. Another question's come up about PPP, and if you receive PPP, is that considered earnings, and should that be claimed in your PUA filing?
Oh boy, so that depends. We've had PPP is run by the Small Business Association, or run through the Small Business Administration. So it's not a program that I'm super familiar with, but so we've had this question come up, particularly from restaurant owners or owners of small businesses. If you have received PPP payments as an employee, right? So there's a couple different aspects. You get the PPP money, the owner of the business borrows it, and then some of it needs to be used to pay payroll. If an individual is paid by their employer PPA money, that needs to be reported to us, because that is essentially wages. You're being paid payroll. If you're the owner, so let's say you own a small real estate agency, right? And you as the owner get the PPA loan and pay, let's say you pay your secretary or your whatever, your office manager, but you don't pay yourself. That PPA money it's business, it's money that's going to your business. It's not earnings that's coming to you. Does that make sense as a distinction?
Yes. So if it's payroll support versus a sort of a grant money.
Right. If it's paid to you as payroll, in lieu of payroll or as back wages, then that's considered money. That's considered income.
I think you might have answered this. If you do file for an adjustment on your payroll, and I think we might be the last question here, because I know we have a little bit more. This has been great. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you. I have two more questions I see here that would be worth asking, and I'm actually going to jump to a different one. If someone has filed and now understanding the program a little better realizes they may need to give the money back, what is the way to give the money back?
So we haven't set that up yet. I would say just, stick it into a savings account and leave it there. And we are gonna have to set up a mechanism for that. PUA, let me also tell you this, PUA overpayments can't be waived. So in UI, some of them can be waived, not if you don't have the ability to pay it back. We can waive it. That's not the case for PUA. So if you think that you got PUA money and you're not entitled to it, hold on to it for now, and then just keep your eye on the website. We'll be putting up information about that.
All right, and lastly, if you filed for PUA but should have filed for unemployment assistance, is there a way to do that?
The system will usually tell you as you're working through the questions. But it also does a check frequently to see if you have earnings that would entitle you to unemployment, and if you need to be moved off of unemployment onto PUA. So generally you're either going to get told at the initial application period, or you'll get a notification that you're not entitled to PUA anymore and you need to go over and apply for regular unemployment.
Okay. And just in case that doesn't happen, is there a mechanism? Would appeals program be the right way to do it, or?
You'd probably just give a call to the 6800 number and talk to a claims agent.
And be persistent, because we know it's overwhelmed right now. So thank you so much both for being here. This was incredibly insightful and helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. We
really appreciate your time today. All right. And we're going to finish up with a quick update from our Incomparable Association Director, John Dolczewski. John, take it away.
Thanks, Jason. So I just have a couple things to report. First, I would reiterate to the members that the association is open for business, even though our physical offices are closed. Staff is working and reachable through our phone lines and email, and we are continuing to migrate a lot of our calendar programming into the online space. So importantly, what you should know is that real estate certification and designation courses are being moved online and in a virtual format. And the first off to kick that off will be our Rentals the Right Way course, which is happening a week from yesterday. So this coming Monday, June 8th, there are still slots available in that if you are interested in that particular program. Also, the Realtor Green Designation and Sellers Representative Specialist courses are up on our calendar online, and you can register for those now. You'll see more of those filtering in as the summer and fall months progress. We also have a couple of interesting programs that I think a lot of our members will be interested in from the Young Professionals Network Group. They're hosting 2 programs next week, a webinar called Reality in Realty, which will talk to top producers about not only doing business, but thriving in this COVID era. And so they're going to talk about how they have shifted and how their business has evolved, some of the changes in their business practices to stay successful during this period. So you'll hear from colleagues across the state about that and much to learn. And we also have a lead generation focus for our next YPN happy hour, which will be taking place on June 11th. So the top producer panel is on Tuesday the 9th, and then the happy hour will be on Thursday, June 11th. You can also watch for CE programs online. Our Manageable Monday webinars are back up and running this month, as are our Brunch and Learn programs, both of which offer free CEs to members. And we do have our next Realtor member meeting, which will have focus on fair housing. We're going to have the Commissioner of the Massachusetts Commission Against Discrimination speaking at our program on June 24th. So watch for promotions on that, and we hope we'll see you online. Lastly, for those who've been on prior segments of GBAR Live, you know we've been teasing a virtual tour and showing platform with iSpy 360. That partnership is finally inked. We announced it last Friday through email. If you missed it, it is available. You can get to it easily through the resources tab on our homepage, or through the carousel. There's a link, or check your email for the email from last Friday. So that offers 2D floor plans, 3D models, and virtual tour and showing with iSpy Live technology, where you can chat live with a client as you take them through the property. Lots of other features, $18.99 a month for the subscription, and just $10 per tour to get those created. That's what I have to share today.
Very exciting. Thank you so much for all the hard work you and your staff are doing to put on these events and all the committee events, helping us get some great member benefits in place that are timely and helpful for us to move our businesses forward. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Thank US Bank, our platinum sponsor, and thank Martha and Jennifer from the Division of Unemployment Assistance for getting us the real facts. I know a lot of associations I've been trying to get this meeting done, and I'm just really excited that GBAR was able to get this information and get real answers, so we know how we can move forward within the system. Thank you all for attending, and be safe out there, and be respectful of each other. Thank you.